Master Chief, defend this station.
These are trying times for all of us.
Get inside the temple and kill regret before it can stop us.
Get tactical, Marines!
If they came to hear me beg, they will be disappointed. Are you sure?
What is that?
Then mount up, officer. I know a way to break those doors.
This facility must be activated if we are to control this outbreak!
Nothing gets me more pumped up than that opening guitar riff. Halo 2. This was such a highly anticipated sequel. I remember watching the demo video that came with the Halo 1 Xbox copies just like over and over again. You know, when I think of the original Xbox, the Xbox Classic, this beauty comes to my mind every time. This video is going to be about a general aspect of Halo 2. I won't be focusing on the groundbreaking multiplayer or reviewing the game, saying what's good and what's bad and if you should play it or anything like that. Instead, in this video, I want to talk about the change in direction, or at least what seems like a change in direction from Halo 1 to Halo 2, and how successful I believe that change was for the game. Halo 2 is an amazing game, no two ways about it. But let's not focus on that. Let's focus on what I really want to talk about, the atmosphere of Halo 2. Now, atmosphere might be like too fancy, too posh of a word for it. Let's focus on the style of Halo 2. Style, that sounds better. Halo 1 is a somber game. Sure, it's got its loud beach storming moments and explosions peppered throughout the game, but most of the time it's quietly walking around an alien planetoid exploring the nooks and crannies and trying to figure out the mysteries of Halo. I made a whole video about this a while back talking about Halo 1 and its exploration. Halo 2, on the other hand, Halo 2 doesn't really need that exploration. Halo 2 doesn't really want that exploration. Halo 2 wants to be as action-packed as much as possible. The quiet walks are replaced by intense car chases. The enclosed arena rooms are replaced by giant firefight-style structures. There are bigger enemies to fight, bigger vehicles to destroy, and we don't just fight on one wee little Halo ring. No, not in Halo 2. Sure, we fight on the Halo ring, but we also fight on the main Covenant Death Star. We're fighting on Earth. We're fighting on a space station in a sandstorm in outer space, held up by a cable. You know, someone's going to need to explain that to me. Listen, the point is Halo 2 is bigger, it's louder, and it has got the quips and shees of the action movies it's inspired by to pull it off. Alright, so let's go through the story really quick. We got a lot of story in Halo 2 because Halo 2 wanted to be bigger. It's not just one story we have to talk about, it's actually two connecting and intersecting stories. Now, the game starts with the commander of the Covenant forces that fought Master Chief on Halo. He gets blamed for the destruction of the ring and is stripped of rank and honor and sentenced to death. Now, while that's happening, on a battle station outside of Earth, Master Chief meets up with his old friends from the first game, Cortana, Sergeant Johnson, and along with newcomer Miranda Keyes, daughter of Captain Keyes from the first game. A Covenant force is invading Earth, and Chief and friends have got to go stop them. One of the three religious leaders of the Covenant, the Prophet of Regret, is leading the invasion force. Regret's forces get beaten back by Team Chief, and the Covenant dip out of the city, followed by our heroes in green. Going back to our elite commander buddy, he isn't murdered. Instead, he's turned into the Covenant's version of Master Chief, the Arbiter. There's a heretic spouting some nonsense about Halo being a weapon of mass destruction, which is absurd. So he's got to go die. The Arbiter teams up with a white armor elite commander to take down the heretic. They do. They capture Guilty Spark from Halo 1, and that's about it. We're back with the humans who come out of light speed to find
That is another Halo.
Say what?
But we already know everything about Halo and how to stop it, so the team splits up. Master Chief and Cortana go after the Prophet of Regret, while Commander Keyes and Sergeant Johnson go after the Index. Chief kills the Prophet of Regret and fades to water for a little bit while we switch back to the Arbiter. It seems that the new Covenant race, the Brutes, are replacing the Elites as the main force of the Covenant army. But there's no time for politics. The Arbiter is sent to stop Commander Keyes from acquiring the Index. The Flood is released again, and after crossing a war zone, a flood of robots, Covenant, and humans, the Arbiter makes his way to Commander Keyes and gets the Index from her. Shortly after, he's betrayed by the Prophets and the Brutes and ends up in the tentacles of the Grave Mind, the hive mind of the Flood. Master Chief and the Arbiter are forced to work together to stop the Prophets from activating Halo and are sent to 2 different locations by the Grave Mind to find and recover the Index. The Chief is sent to High Charity, the Covenant homeworld base place, and the Arbiter is sent to just outside of Halo's control room. Master Chief fights his way to the Prophets, all the while an elite rebellion is occurring, causing the Covenant forces to be divided. During the Civil War, Commander Keyes' ship, in Amberclad, crashes into High Charity, containing not just an army of Flood, but also the Gravemind himself. The Prophet of Truth lets his bro Mercy die and tells Tartarus, chieftain of the Brutes, to activate Halo. Truth then escapes in a Forerunner ship and heads off into space. Master Chief manages to get aboard Truth's ship just in time, leaving Cortana behind to self-destruct in Amberclad, destroying High Charity and Halo, just in case the Arbiter doesn't stop Halo's activation.
Not a very original plan, but we know it'll work.
Speaking of the Arbiter, he discovers that Truth and the Brutes haven't just betrayed him, but the entire elite race. He races to the control room and runs into his best bro, that nameless white armor Covenant commander with half of his mouth missing. Whitey tells the Arbiter that Tartarus is already inside the control room. He then directs the Arbiter to a nearby Scarab and says he's going to go capture the main Brute battle cruiser before dipping out for the rest of the game. Arby teams up with good old Sergeant Johnson, who is being held prisoner by the Brutes, and they take control of the Scarab to blast open the control room door. Tartarus uses Miranda Keyes to activate the ring, and Miranda, the Arbiter, and Sergeant Johnson team up to take down Tartarus and deactivate Halo. In doing this, however, they've set all remaining Halo rings to standby, and they need to find the Ark, which is the control center for all Halo rings. Meanwhile, Truth shows up to Earth with his Forerunner ship and an invasion fleet, along with our favorite Spartan, who's ready to...
Sir, finishing this fight.
This is the game that evolved Halo into being an explosive action movie series. Guitar riffs, wisecracking, dramatic gunfights, the game even ends with a fistfight between 2 rivals. Now, Halo 1 had a lot of that stuff too, but not even close to the amount that Halo 2 has. The 2 biggest additions to the game heavily enforced the idea of Halo 2 being more action-packed and movie-inspired. The addition of dual-wielding weapons and jacking moving vehicles. These are some classic action movie cliches, spraying 2 SMGs like a badass or just snagging somebody's ride while they're still on it. Halo 2 didn't just want to be Halo 1 again. Halo 2 wanted to be bigger and louder and way more bombastic than Halo 1 was. Now, Halo 2 has its quiet moments, but those moments are there as breaks between the intense action. While I love the tone of Halo 1, and I love the quiet exploring moments of that game, I think if they had them to the same extent in Halo 2, it would just be a bad thing. Halo 2 is much faster. We know all about the control room and the Index, so we don't need to waste time explaining it again. We already know about the Flood, so we don't need to waste time explaining them again. We know blowing up a spaceship will destroy Halo, so we don't need to waste time thinking of a new plan to stop the activation. Halo 1 felt like a one-off story about a space marine who ended up on a weird space ring during the middle of a war. And Halo 2 feels more like a continuation, like a sequel to that space war, and not so much that one-off space adventure journey. In the game, we get to meet more characters, and we get more motives, and we get to see both sides of this galactic conflict. A great thing about Halo 2 is that it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Thanks for the tank.
He never gets me anything.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
Now it could have. It could have gone dark and gritty and edgelorded out hardcore, but it didn't. Instead, the game throws out corny, over-the-top one-liners. It embraces the fun side of these games and just goes off the rails. You don't need tactics in this game. You're a one cyborg apocalypse ready to punch down any and all evil alien bastards coming your way. There's no underlying message here. Halo 2 doesn't have any political message to share with the world or some artistic questioning of real-world social structures. There are games where that fits in, but just not in Halo. Halo has a much better focus. Instead, it's an 80s-style action movie taking place in a space war. Bungie really owned the fact that Halo 2 wasn't going to be as serious as the first game, or as serious as other games had been. I watched the game developers' commentary about Halo 2, and you hear the love and excitement in their voices as they talk about stuff being cool or fun. The Forerunner tank level conversation is a great example of what I mean. When asked what is a Forerunner tank and what is it supposed to do, project leader Jason Jones responded, "Be awesome, blow things up, glow a lot from little windows, move real fast." Throughout the commentary, they mention about how this sounded cool or this seemed fun, and Halo 2 as a game works so well because it was designed to be fun and enjoyable, or in the words of Jason Jones, awesome. What really added to Halo 2's over-the-top fun factor is its flair. Without the improved graphics and, more importantly, the phenomenal voice acting, Halo 2 would not be the awesome adventure it is. Everything at the time looked so great. The places you ended up seemed so grand and expansive. They even had in-game conversations and animations in the middle of combat, which greatly adds to the narrative experience. The graphics have their own problem with popping textures, and if you play the game on a 360, weird temporary image imprinting, but at the time the game came out, it looked amazing. The voice acting, though, has no problems. Hearing Keith David alongside Robert Davi is amazing, and the UNSC voice cast is also fantastic and easily recognizable with names like Ron Perlman, David Cross, Michelle Rodriguez, and Julie Benz. These voices alongside those of Cortana's, Johnson's, and the Chiefs add so much more to the adventure. It really does feel like you're playing through a movie. Halo 2 is a great game. I know nowadays it's common to hear a first-person shooter on the original Xbox and think bad gameplay and bad graphics, bad game. I don't consider the love I have for this game to be just nostalgic. I genuinely believe that this is a good and fun game. Maybe for some console players, the lack of a sprint button and a aim down sights button makes the game clunky. Maybe the graphics being dated and the texture popping means it's unenjoyable to look at, and people can't tell what's happening on screen. Maybe the power fantasy of being a space marine blowing up all these non-human creatures is overdone. Maybe. But I think what really makes the Halo series stand out is not just that it did these things early on before they got tired, but that the game had such solid voice acting, such emotionally hyped music, such a desire of being fun and awesome, that it pulls it off. It is fun, and you feel awesome playing the game. This game would direct the Halo series into becoming more and more like an action movie, and whether or not the series has been better or worse for it is up to you. I, however, strongly believe that Halo 2 pulls it off with style. If you haven't played Halo 2 or haven't played it in a long time, I highly recommend giving it another playthrough. You never know. Maybe you'll end up liking it just as much now as the world did when it came out. Thanks for watching. If you haven't watched them already, the developer commentaries for Halo 1 and 2 can be found on YouTube. I found them when I finished writing and recording the video and then went back to add in their opinions and fondness for their game. I'll put links in the description below if you're interested in hearing some passionate game designers talk about their creations. Have a good day, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.